great. Well, thank you, everybody. Wow, it's wonderful. When I was in the incubator, there weren't even this many companies as are on the line. So this is fabulous. So thank you. So I'd like to share a few opening slides, and then we'll get right into some of your questions. But to me, it starts with we have to believe that the interns are a valuable member of our team. This isn't about a working student. This, so there's a lot of things you can think about, but really making them feel a valuable part of your team. So I'm going to start much like Anita did, if I can, with a quote that she often uses, and that is, it takes a community to raise a company. So I am so grateful to the ecosystem that has supported us, whether it's Sonia, whether it's UACI. So I've made a list here. So today we're going to talk about interns, but I really wanted you to see that we have a powerful ecosystem here. And I'm always willing to give a commercial about how many resources are available to anyone starting a company in Arizona and specifically Tucson. So as Anita mentioned, we started with the McGuire Center for Entrepreneurship. I remember driving on the property the day I drove in and said, how can I help? But the key that I'm going to talk about today is I'm really grateful to, we've had 15 interns. So I think we've even had more. We have several at the same time even, so I just will share a little bit about what we do and then how do we use interns. So there are other things here. It's all, for us, the U of A is a tremendous resource. Researchers, collaborators, core laboratory. I really ask you to reach out to the incubator to make sure you know what other resources might be available to you. I must say in advance that I'm all about bio, so I'm going to do my best in trying to relate it to all of the different kinds of companies that went around the room. So my one sentence pitch, as Anita always likes us to do, ZelosDx, we are commercializing blood testing products for brain disease. So that's what we do. I'd like to go just a little bit more into it so that you can get a feel of what the business looks like, because what's most important is how the interns actually help support our businesses. So window into the brain is our technology. Our key customers are the researchers. Anyone working in breakthrough disease, either neurological diseases or healthy brain, we believe that they're a target customer. Unmet need, these are very, very big and important diseases. They affect the lives of over 100 million people for those that we focus on. Tremendous cost, over $1.3 trillion of cost associated with these diseases. And in many cases, there are failed drug trials. And what we do, one of the critical missing pieces, is the need for a blood testing product that can ultimately be used to help monitor brain health and disease and help measure treatment effect. And hence why we're focused on researchers and focused on pharmaceutical companies. So we are the first to use a cellular approach for mining the phagocytes. I won't go tech talk, I'll back up a minute, to mining those cells for clues as to what's going on in the brain. And when you look at our business model, tools for researchers that I had already mentioned, it's a platform technology that can be used across a broad set of diseases. We are targeting these key customers, and our market adoption is licensing partners. So I wanted to at least give you that context, because I have to say that every one of these points, we've used interns to help us with these parts of our business. So I mentioned we have used 15 interns and probably even more. So we've used them in really two ways. Each of you come to starting your business with different needs. I mean, you have technical aspects of your business that you might be able to use interns. You also have business aspects that you might be able to use interns. And so we have people come to us, and I'll tell you a little bit about where we get interns, but I wanted you to hear that these people self-select and say, I'd like to work with you on the technical parts of your business, or I'd like to work with you on business internships. So just to give you a feel, technical. So right here we have Maverick. Maverick comes from the Professional Science Master's Program. He has gone on to be in medical school. Krista was in the Professional Science Master's Program, and she is working for High Throughput Genomics, which is in the community, and she worked for another large company up in Iowa. We have Rebecca, who is now part of Banner Health's laboratory working in stem cell. And then we have Vanessa White, who came from the Professional Science Master's Program, who ultimately we hired. So you never know, your intern can end up working with you. On the business side, you could tell since COVID, we have Taylor working with us, and he is somebody who worked on both business as well as technical. So we had 2 sets of internships for him. The Professional Science Master's Program requires that you actually get 8 credits. And I'm sure Anita has talked a little bit about that. And so we have the ability to work with them as they go through their program. Over here, Michaela came from one of the writing schools for masters. She likes to do illustration and help write science periodicals. And so she went through that program and helped us illustrate our technology, which was fabulous. Clayton's now in medical, and she works for the STAR as well as the U of A. Clayton is down in medical school as well, and he did an intellectual property project for us to help us decide which European countries we want to go after. And he did a full study on that. 2 of our other people down here, I've already talked about Maverick, but Maverick also looked at a competitive technology. And then Nicholas actually helped us look at who might invest in a company like us. So I wanted to start by having you think about where, what are the aspects of your business that ultimately you might need some help. And again, I'll talk a little bit about best practices, but just as a flavor, again, we have at least 1 to 2 people at all times in these different internship programs. We couldn't have done it without it, to be honest with you. So, the key, and I'm almost done with my basic comments, the key is that this isn't about being a student worker, it's about creating a win-win for the intern. And so you really have to be thoughtful as to how you recruit. You need a good job description. You have to think through how you're going to work with them. What do you need? And then you have to say, where might I look for these interns? So based on the job description, you then have to say, okay, this time I'm going to look at the therapeutics that are working in this area. Well, I went to the School of Pharmacy. I didn't go to the business school for that. I went to the School of Pharmacy. And then make sure that you give a very thoughtful approach to interviewing. It isn't the first warm body that shows up. That's the tendency. Oh my God, someone walked in the door. They're interested in the same space I am. That's the beginning of it, but that's not the end all be all. So then the next key thing is it's not about the company and you. It is about what is the intern's goal. Now, there may be interns that aren't in school, but I have to tell you, we've only worked with interns that are students from Pima, students from University of Arizona. So I'm going to give you that bias, but the need to create some valuable learning experience for them is top. And you don't know what they want. So, the very first question, what are you looking to gain out of this? Well, some say, I've never worked in a lab before. Okay, well, we have to decide whether we're okay to train them all the way from scratch. Or they may say, I don't know what it's like to do a startup. So where do I begin? And then we know it's a business project that they may need. So see who comes forward from your job descriptions. We typically post. There's a U of A job board. There is the Bio 5 for us. We always go to Uwe Hilgert, and he uploads our resumes, job descriptions there. And then you have to really be on it when they come back to you. You may get a flurry, 10, 12 people, make sure they hear back from you. But it starts with what's their goal, because they got to tell you, as a startup company, well, you have so many projects, make sure you list your projects first. And then you just match what they'd like to do to something that you really need. And then leave with what's the deliverable. Many people say, okay, let's just bring them on board and get them started. Right from the beginning, they need to know what the question is you're trying to answer and what's the deliverable. And for us, we always state the deliverable is always a white paper. It's always a deck of slides so that I could potentially work with them. And some of our projects require an Excel spreadsheet. And so, it depends on what your project is, but it has to be tangible. It isn't you just come in and you do a few things. You let them know right from the beginning. And they like to know that too. We've had times, I'm only mentioning these things because we haven't always done it right. So, I'm sharing with you what we've learned. The more time that you spend in making sure you train them is really important. Don't assume anything. Wow, we assumed people could make chemical solutions, asked them to go make some buffers, and lo and behold, they had no idea. And they were really reticent to let us know that those basics they didn't have. So figure out what their training needs are, and set up regular meetings. These interns will either let the project go to the very end, and then they'll try to get it all done. Let's say it's a competitive intelligence report, and you help them know what databases to go look at. They're creatures of habit. They go to the end. Every week, there's a question that needs to get answered. They do a white paper in terms of what their findings are. They don't have to write it. They can just cut and paste into a document. I always say to them, this is how much we count on you. In the beginning, we probably know a lot more than you do, but that's only applicable to the first third of the time we spend together. After that, you know more than we do. You're doing the project. We are counting on what you're bringing forward, whether it's something scientific or whether it's something business. And we've always worked to help them feel empowered. This isn't just an assignment. This is about how you're going to help a company succeed. So weekly, I never go more than weekly with interns until they're well into the process. And then ongoing feedback, regular feedback. We have a weekly company meeting with whomever we're working with, and they have to show up at that meeting and they present what they found last time, not just to whoever they're working with, but, we have a small team. I'm not saying we have a large team, so there's 3 of us on the phone call, but they're the 4th. And so there's always time on the agenda for them to present. And I have to say that whether it's a business project or whether it is a technology project, when they give us feedback at the end, they say one of the most interesting things was sitting through your meetings, because most of the meeting isn't them, but they see where what they do fits in. And that's why I always say how an intern is a vital part of your team. So I know I'm getting on my bandwagon. Presentations and paper, again, when they know right up front that they have some deliverables, keeping them on track to build all along as opposed to the end is really important. And then ultimately, we always ask them to do a final report. Some programs require it if this is a credit, but they don't all have credits. So they have a deliverable. So for example, a business project on competitive intelligence that was done last summer, that report out on that part of Taylor's work was done to the board. So we carved out, actually in this one, we didn't even carve out time. We gave him an hour and a half with our board so that our board, all of us could learn what are the key findings around competitive intelligence. So right in the beginning, help them understand who they're going to be presenting to, either their teams, if they're, in one of the programs that have credits. You need to know who their advisors are if this is something that's important, because you may need to give feedback back to them too. So it's all about creating value for them, and they will create value for the company. So job description, people say, oh my God, I don't want to do paperwork. But if you're not clear about what you want, they're not going to be clear about what you want. And so I'm sure Anita has templates, but the template we always use is a little bit of background information. And then what does the ideal candidate look like? And what are some of the projects? Now, you may not know till they show up how you're going to tailor it to them, but you have to have a job description, or it doesn't feel real, it doesn't feel tangible. My last slide is on do's and don'ts. I already mentioned writing a good job description. It doesn't matter whether you're in bio, whether you're a service business, whether you're in mining, like we heard here, that job description. And I'm going to move right over to the don't. They really need to feel like they're an intern, not a student worker. So why would I say that? A student worker really feels like they need to get paid. You may not have any money to pay these interns. We've never paid an intern, ever. But that's because they're made to feel this is a learning experience. This is an internship. We want you to proudly put that on LinkedIn. We want to have you proudly put that on your resume, and we are ready to write a recommendation if we feel it's appropriate. So this student worker, they don't want to be used. If you're a student worker, I feel you need to pay them, but an intern is creating a learning thing. So it must be a good fit. I hit that. Must set up agreed upon goals, creating learning opportunities. One of the interns that did illustrations, she didn't start with accredited, she didn't need a credit in an internship. We worked with her. And then when she went on for her journalism master's, we were able to get her credits for what she was doing in her program. So they like to be able to get something for doing this. The paid versus unpaid, some of you may be ready to pay them, which would be fabulous. I have to tell you, you might go from 3 or 4 candidates to 15 candidates if you can actually pay for them. But that's a very personal decision depending on where your company actually is. Now, people will often forget before they even walk in, once you've decided, check their references, ask for an advisor, and then make sure you do make a call. You have to have a confidentiality agreement. And I may be saying stuff that you already know, but sometimes people say, oh, I don't need a confidentiality with an internship. And this is why it isn't just about confidentiality. It's about who owns what they might discover. You do not want, at the university, this ownership of discovery is something very important and very spelled out. We need to make it just as spelled out the day they walk in or virtually start working with you, because there might be something that will be important into your intellectual property, particularly if they work on technology, but also if they work on the business stuff. So make sure your confidentiality agreement is a template that includes ownership of discovery, as well as what's confidential, what isn't. And then don't forget, you need to comply with student stuff. So you can't say, oh, I didn't know that. We had a whole sign-off procedure that we were going to be COVID. I know it's not COVID friendly, COVID, whatever the rules were for U of A, we had to say, yes, we were going to be in compliance with that. No, we weren't going to have more than X number of people. Yes, we would take a temperature every day. So this is all very important. The don'ts, don't wait till the end. Oh my God, we did that in the beginning. We trusted that they were doing their 10 or 12 hours a week. That generally that's what we do, 10 or 12 hours a week. It's better to have a couple of interns to make up more than 10 or 12 than it is to have one intern that works more, works 20 hours. That's a worker when they're working 20 hours. Don't leave them on their own. I got to tell you, they're quiet because particularly if you have a business project, they don't even know the language. We've had as many business projects, probably more business projects than even the technical. Don't tell them everything though. They like syllabus. They like to know what's next week. That, you know what, I don't need somebody that needs that we have to babysit. We want somebody that will be able to structure their own work. We only work with masters, to be honest. We've had a couple of people undergrad, but for the most part, we've always worked with masters. The level of maturity is different. We've even had a few PhDs when it comes to some of the people in pharmacy school. Don't just give them menial work, stretch them, really align this work again with what their goal is. Never assume anything. That gets back to somebody that didn't even know how to make solutions. We didn't have any idea that somebody in their master's would not know how to do that kind of thing. But, and if you need a babysitter, it's not for you. So really, I wanted to share where we got our interns. Again, places like pharmacy school, align yourself with the school that might have talent that you might want to work with. Don't wait till, oh my gosh, I won't have any money till this time. Get them going. We had times when we ran out of money. You know what? We still had an intern because it made us all show up. We did a business project. We couldn't do a lab project, because we'd run out of money, but we could meet with them every week and continue to stay on track. So again, some of the do's and don'ts. So I mentioned that one of our interns we actually hired, and that's Vanessa White down here, and she's been with us for a number of years. We were actually able to pay her once we had gotten a Michael J. Fox grant for Parkinson's, and we were off and running, and she's been a part of our team. She works with us part-time. It works with her personal schedule. So with that, I will open it up for questions.